This is a good place to start.
Okay, a little less awkward now, but I am still technically talking to myself. And we're back with the third part of Honey and Spice Pick Your Vice. I actually think that's sticking for me, so until I find something I like better, that's what I'll be calling it, because titling these would add to my already full workflow, okay? Also, I guess I'm not really recommending anything because you will not blame me for accidental traumatization, but if you happen to read one of these based on my overview without too much spoiler, I hope. Let me know what you did and didn't like about it, and if you think the flag's label is fitting. I am open to tailoring the flag category of my description if there's a really good reasoning. However, I probably won't have a refresh again until mid-September. But here are the characteristics I determined fit in what flag category for now. Okay, the first one for today is Frenemies, Thicker Than Blood by Nietzsche Tigal / HKMI for the art. It is a manhwa, but it also has it listed as a webtoon. I'm not 100% what the difference is or if a manhwas can just be both. It's completed. That's all that really matters. The characters, Yeohan and Baek Rigan. I know what I said and I know what I tried to do, but this don't even count for real. Or at least that's what I'm going to say, because it really wasn't my intention to do the younger top, older bottom yet again. Anyways, Yeohan is a cutie potato that's strong-willed, determined, and really about that action. Yes, he's the bottom, while Baek Rigan, the top, definitely gives bad boy. Fine. Did I mention that? They fine. And it's very clear early on that Rigan adores his best friend and is really about that action. They have a healthy sense of communication, and the quick wit coupled with humor and tasty tension works very well here. Summary. Friends, rivals, lovers. Yeohan and Baek Rigan have clashed since the very first moment they met. For years, they straddled the line between enemies and friends, ignorant to what feelings had been developing deep below the surface. Yet, just as soon as their eyes are open to how much they mean to one another, events transpire to try keeping them apart. Plot. I know we're not used to it, but there is a plot, okay? And it kind of eats. The first read through, I was like, what's happening here? Things make sense, and the groundwork from the beginning is actually making a full circle. I wouldn't call them enemies. When you've read the things I have, this is rivalry at worst. It never gave enemy for real. Like towards the middle-ish, we are suspicious and doubting a little bit, but it's still pretty above water. Basically, Baek Rigan is raised as an adoptive son. No, wait. I know how it sounds, but it is not in the way you think. This is a historical drama, and as kids, they're all raised in this little school where they also live. And Haeyeon's father just happens to be the overall instructor. They meet, have their little rivalry, here and there breadcrumbs about the bigger picture being laid, and there's a lot of sneaky shit popping off. As they get older, Haeyeon starts to realize he may actually be in love with Rigan, and like I said, Rigan already with the game, but then Haeyeon gets injured, goes missing, and that's not a big spoiler for real, because it's high-key a main part of the middle of the story, and shit hits the fan at the academy. Plot happens, and Haeyeon returns years later, kinda on some espionage energy, semi-plot twist stuff that I obviously won't spoil, but it's actually a really good read. Tags: historical, drama, fantasy, full color, romance, martial arts, mature, smut. These tags are actually pretty accurate and don't need an addition from me. I I think this one is pretty well balanced with all of the elements it holds. There is some miscommunication, but it's intentional for the plot. And I think it makes it better to have the readers a little skeptical about the characters. I wouldn't necessarily say there's glaring weaknesses, as it's definitely a rarity to have all of the markers and deliver wholeheartedly. Opinion conclusion. You got jealousy, revenge, action, drama, and great smut. I know we really didn't touch on it, as this is one of the first overviews I've done that doesn't have smut as the main plot, but it's good, okay? Tasteful and really dropped in the right spots, even in the end chapters. It do make you blush a little bit. Target audience / flag. This is absolutely a green flag. There is no confusion on that. Both characters have personalities, always consensual actions. They deeply care about each other, even in the midst of the plotting. It's a bit of a longer read with 75 listed chapters, but it's definitely worth it. Second one on my list is Dear Door by Pluto. Story and art. That's a webtoon. See what I mean? Now I'm fake confused again, because it also says Korean. But this is a very wild ride. Let me say that again. This is a very wild ride. Just when you've gotten to a bit of a comfortable pace, ooh, Lord have mercy. If you can imagine it, it's here. Really? Let's just call this our first indecisive, because it literally has every flag in the spectrum depending on the couple. Characters. Kunjung and Kane are the main characters, and boom, I think I've got one that's older top, younger bottom. Technically speaking, that is, because one of them is an immortal, and that's not a spoiler. It literally kicks the story off. I would say Kunjung low-key doesn't have a personality. I mean, he does at first, but I wouldn't have one either after chapters. Okay, let me be serious. He's Wells-like, charismatic, outgoing, determined. That's how his ass ended up in this mess. And kind. Yeah. He's actually really kind, all things considered. Kane, on the other hand, he starts off a little rough, as expected, before he has character development, but nothing too crazy. Should I do the side characters here? Nah, I'm gonna circle back. Summary. After the loss of his fiancée, police officer Kunjun resigned himself to a life of watering his houseplants and catching two-bit criminals. But after a police investigation into a mysterious cult goes supernatural, he finds himself face-to-face with Lord Kane, a demon king in desperate need of mana in order to survive. Good news, I sarcastically exclaim. But that's what they got. Kunjun's body serves as a door through which Kane can enter hell and restore his mana. Bad news. The main plot is all bad news after a few chapters. The method of opening that door is not so safe for work. Plot. This plot is nuts. Yes, there is a plot. A batshit crazy one. We go so far down a rabbit hole, you end up forgetting how any of it got started. Like, the first time they mentioned police work, about 40 chapters or 50 chapters in, it's like whiplash. You would be so confused. I don't even know how to describe this for real, because it's all given spoiler. Let's see. Kunjung and his, I guess they're friends, or rather complicated co-workers, only on Jinyoung's part. Wait. Oh yeah, he was like that at first. Okay. They're both police officers, and Jinyoung is his police partner. They definitely give crossing guards, because the police suck here. Anyways, they're investigating a string of mysterious crimes from people with weird tattoos. You know what? Maybe I need to reread this, because the beginning escapes my brain. Like, long story short, the fantasy elements kick off in chapter 1, low-key panel 4, but it's played out right because Kunjung believes he's delusional, which again, very fair. Some stuff happens, and he ends up entangled with Lord Kane, who is basically kind of dying. Premise, that's not a big spoiler. And they're totally a green flag, maybe yellowish. Granted, they circle back to a hard green. Well, then we get into Sid and Jinyoung, the second couple. And baby, that's nothing but black flag territory. Like, yeah, it's a redemption. I actually wouldn't call it that. Definitely like how it ends, but some of that shit is unforgivable. The storyline continues and it's woven well into discovery. Crazy good smut. Dastardly questionable actions. Like, you ain't got an enemy for real with a right hand like this. And while Sid, you know what? Maybe his name is Seth. It kind of don't matter. If you read it, you'll know exactly what I mean. But he does end up having to eat that karma back. And I actually really like that. When I first read this, it for sure made me question what I was reading and why I was intrigued for more. It does have interesting and unique concepts that do make the story really great. But I don't know why I chose this one because I actually can't say what happens without spoiling. Even the summary they give only for about the first 3 chapters, and after that, you finna see some shit you ain't never heard of before. The 3rd and 4th-ish couple are also really cute, definitely not green flags, but I wouldn't call them black. Well, one of them is individually in the couple. The partner is orangish red, and I know what you're thinking. 4 couples. How were you not confused? And yes, the story is about 168 or 169 chapters with side stories, not labeled as that, but they're mostly AUs and super adorable. Tags: adult, mature, smut, action, demons, fantasy, full color, mystery, supernatural tags they got, which aren't bad actually, but IDK. Maybe we need to create an incomprehensible tag or surprise bitch because you will be shook. Not gonna hold you. String/weaknesses. I know you think I dropped the question where I proposed how I wasn't confused, but I didn't. I've read this more than 6 times, and it's really up my alley. The art is beautiful and progresses steadily. The storyline is actually very good. Plus, it keeps you guessing. Not that. Let me say I could predict what was next, and the AUs, or alternate universes as they're called, not sure if I mentioned that, are placed at just the right time to give you a breather. You're going to need it a lot more than you think. Opinion/conclusion, this is not light work, no reaction. At least not for me. I was aghast, disgusted, intrigued, jaw agaped. Had to flip back and forth through some chapters because a plot point that was laid earlier actually made a full circle later and left me shook. It is some downright deplorable backstories, and there's hella angst. And the tension, well, I'm scared. And that's what was so good. But there is consensual dub con and non-con, depending on which couple is at the forefront. I mean, you could skip through the darker parts, but I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. Stuff ain't gonna make sense later on. Like, you will be very confused on top of the regular confusion. We do get impreg though, although we don't get to see anything but the babies. I'm getting really tired of that. Target audience/flag. If you're looking for a way to open your mind to experiences whispered and tagged in the italics of AO3, then yes, by all means, please enjoy an open-minded encounter. However, if you've mainly been on the green/yellow flag stories and are faint of heart, do not touch this with a 10-foot pole. Please don't say I didn't warn you, because I'm telling you right now, it is unreal. Even I had my pearls clutched, but after season 1, I was all right. That's not to say the elements stopped elementing, but I was cool. Again, this isn't indecisive because we got a green flag couple, a yellow/orange one, a red one, and a black one. Is there a happy ending? Truthfully, it depends on what you consider happy. For me, things are resolved, but there's 4 couples, so I would say, and this is a crazy statement to add it to the mix, but they have realistic endings. Okay. Whew. Something cute and short now. LOL. The last one is Mary on the Rocks, a manhwa by Mascarato and Ink for art. 4 chapters, 2 side stories. It's the office workers, of course, a manhwa, and it also says webtoon. So, I haven't figured this out yet. Maybe in the next one, I don't know. The characters, Noel Brown and June. I don't think his last name gets mentioned, but again, the names are never really something that sticks in my brain. And yes, it is as expected at this point. older top, younger bottom. Noel Brown is confident. They actually both are. But Noel is a little cocky. I don't think that's a pun. Outgoing, charismatic, and very prosperous to be as young as he is. This is set in an adult setting. Thank fucking finally. So Young here is like 25 or 26. He's in his early 20s. And June is smooth, tempered. He's got a quiet confidence that don't need to be announced. There's some side characters, but this story is short enough that they don't matter. Okay? Summary. It's longer than the actual story. The gentle dance of snowflakes as they fall to the ground. Girl, I'm not gonna read all this. It gives prologue to a novel or some shit. It's Christmas time. Kind of gives that they're in the States and two guys meet at a bar. Thus, the story begins. Plot. Plot is a strong word here. There's a series of events, but don't get me wrong, it does add to the overall development. I can't even tell you what this is about without telling you what it's about. So, I guess I'm sorry for the spoilers. After they meet at a bar on a lonely Christmas time night, since it's not quite Christmas, but wait, see, maybe not the States, because Christmas is a romantic holiday-ish in Asia. You know what? Never mind. Back to the spoilers. They hook up, one leaves before the other, and turns out they are representatives for their companies and are at this other company to pitch the best opportunity. They run into each other before the big presentation and do what they do best. When Noah realizes they're competitors, he chokes and fumbles, and Mr. Jung quietly moves on with the W. There's some angst. I wouldn't really call it that, but I'm trying not to be biased, because do you know what I've read? That can't even be angst in the face of 20 birds never fly. Like, that's pain. Anyways, off topic. They end up in communication again, and June says something about training. And I was like, well, we need more of that. But of course, we don't get any more of it. Tags: adult, mature, smut, drama, full color, office workers, romance, slice of life. No, those track. I don't need to add anything. Strength/weakness: it's a short, fun time. The drama is cute. The story with quick wit ties it all together, and there's no miscommunication for what it is. I wouldn't even say weaknesses. It's fairly to the point and doesn't waste space dragging me along. Opinion/conclusion: this is a cute, easy read, all consensual, and while some points like character development could be considered a weakness, it's more like a snapshot into how they met or how the relationship started. It could be a prologue for a longer story. Maybe. Target audience and flags: super green flag. Like, there's not even a moment of doubt, and it has a happy ending. Okay, that's all for now, but I really gotta find y'all some more orange and yellow flags instead of the extremes. I really just be out here reading and finally started trying to categorize which stories go where for my rereadings or not. But I am starting to catch a flow and really do want to include my favorite tags, even if they aren't all inclusive. So if you come across this and are even remotely interested in listening to me yap, you do have a general idea of what's on my sick ticket. Ooh, I like that. My sick tag ticket. My ticket tag 6 tags on my sick ticket. It's starting to sound like a warm-up exercise or tongue twisters, as that just became. And then again, not all of my tags are pearl clutchers, so should it be tags to describe me? I'll figure it out. But don't forget, that story that's been on your TBR for forever, and you're unsure if you want to commit the time because you'll end up disappointed, or there's not enough information regarding plot, then recommend it in the comments. I'll review it and mostly appropriately label its flag color with a short overview. However, if you do want full spoilers, I will give you full spoilers. So until next time, bye.